Okay, well here we are at the Florida Aviation Museum in Lakeland, and right in the entrance is a gorgeous pit special hanging from the ceiling. Pretty cool. Got a couple of nice little displays in here. Let's go and check out the museum. This should be pretty cool. Oh man, I feel like Manhattan. Right in the entrance of the museum is this gorgeous GTF-34 engine. This is the engine that's used on the A-10 Thunderbolt, the old tank killer. Great big old turbofan. And yep, I do love my jet engines. If you look down here, you can see the variable stator vanes. And then to look down in there, this is actually how they work, going to each subsequent stage of compression. Pretty cool engine. Looks like they have the fan section removed. Probably best to keep people from trying to spin it around. But the fan would go right in here. Alright, let's go on into the museum. Oh man, this is too cool. So as we walk in, they got a couple nice little displays here. And Lord willing, my travel schedule will have me down here so I can go to Sun and Fun this year. It will be the 50th year. And we walk over here, got a old Pan Am pilot uniform. This is a display of Lyle Wheeler. He was the #1 pilot for Pan Am. And over on the wall, got all kinds of neat stuff. And there is the old Chalks Grumman Mallard before they had, or is that, yeah, it might be a Albatross. But anyway, Grumman had a tragic accident, or I should say Chalks did, years ago, where a wing came up on their planes, and unfortunately that was the beginning of the end of Chalks. But you come over here, and I love these old advertisements. You know, I'm beginning to think that this museum is well worth the drive down here, as the traffic was absolutely nuts on the interstate. This is pretty cool, this Benoist model. Very well put together. And looking up in the ceiling, there is a quickie. That looks like it'd be a fun little airplane. Looking over there in the ceiling, it looks like a Flybaby. Not 100% sure. But let's look up in the ceiling all around here. You'll see up in the distance is a mock-up or reproduction of the Wright Flyer. And then way over there on the corner is a Stitch Flybaby. And everybody knows what this is. Beautiful old Stearman. Red Baron Pizza had an aerobatic team, and they put on a good show. Couple more planes hanging from the ceiling. And then here is a Rans. Down on the floor level, here's this gorgeous 1934 Aeronca LB. I just love these old airplanes. These were built back in a point in time where craftsmen took amazing pride in their work. And it wasn't really a push button world. Man, look at this thing. Good gracious. Gorgeous old fabric wings. I'm going to see if I can make my camera video inside. Get my camera away so I don't bang up against it. Oh yeah, look at that cockpit. Why don't you know that would have been so much fun to fly in. What a beauty. Man, I would love to fly this. Look at the craftsmanship in these wings. And walking over here, looks like some type of a jet mock-up. Probably something for the kids to play with. Oh yeah, it'd be a lot of fun for kids. You look in here, you got instrument panel layout, throttles, control yoke, rudder pedals. Yeah, it would be so much fun. I'm an adult and I would still enjoy that. So stepping out here, hello, have a couple more models. This is the NOAA exhibit. On the wall, got a few more things over here. Then we look at another exhibit over here, the Coast Guard. Old sextant over there. I would love to operate one of those. Maybe one day I'll learn how. And then this airplane up here, I was wrong. I thought it was a Flybaby, but it is an Angling Spacewalker 2. Little home-built airplane. Boy, don't you know that thing would be so much fun to fly. Then we come over here and we have another really cool exhibit hanging from the ceiling. And this is a Ford Flibber replica. The original was made in 1926. Man, this place is really cool. A Pitt Special S1C. It's interesting, these airplanes to this day are still quite hot on the air show circuit. Got a couple of rocket engines over here. Man, if I could have any one wish, it would be to go to space. And here are the patches on the wall for the space program. And the one that I remember most is Apollo 11. I was only 7 when that happened, but it was interesting and fun to watch. Here is a sad memory of the Challenger disaster. It's a photo from the robotic arm on the space shuttle. Now we have the Florida Aviation Hall of Fame. Pretty neat. Got an old set of first class seats in here. And let's take a look at what all they got on the wall. It's kind of hard to read those because they blend in with the paint on the wall. But now you can look all the way up there and see all the pictures of the folks that are on the Florida Hall of Fame. One that really stands out is this one over here. Captain Dick Merrill. My mother and I had the pleasure of meeting this guy in Fredericksburg at the Shannon Air Museum. This was probably 1978, 79 when we took my older sister back up to college. Interesting man.
This is the Wright Brothers simulator.
And then more stuff on the wall. Excuse me. And then they have an old DC-3 simulator set up over here, talking about just how it worked. And then up on the wall, they got the POW flag and old Gloria herself. Cheap way to build ours there. Couple of models and uniforms back here on the wall. And this is the optical bomb sight that was used on the B-47. There's a little label for it. And then right here is a mock-up of an F-16. I would almost be willing to bet that this is a radio control model here. It sure looks like it. And then looking directly overhead is a replica of the Wright Brothers Flyer. What an amazing airplane that began everything. from that to this big jet engine here. This is the engine that goes on an F-16. And this is looking up the tailpipe where the afterburner would be. Let's see if this thing will spool. There's a little button here. Oh, that's pretty cool. It actually runs. Well, it doesn't really run, but that's pretty cool. I guess my boat every time. Up here is a big model of the Spruce Goose. One day I need to go look at the real one out in Oregon. This is Howard Hughes's flight lounge. Quite an innovative individual. Considered by many as one of the most pioneering aviators ever. This old propeller came off of a German Gotha bomber. And more about Howard Hughes's Hollywood years, his early years. There's a couple of displays in here. Looks pretty neat. And these are some of the suits that they used during filming of Hell's Angels. Man, I would have loved to have been alive back then. And this airplane here is a mock-up of Hughes's XF-11. And that thing had two of the 4360 Pratt & Whitney engines on there. Interesting, it was a 4-row 28-cylinder engine. Here you go, read all about it. Then as you come over here, you see a little bit more of Howard Hughes's room here. Let's walk out and look at some more stuff here. As you look off into the distance here, you can see more from the ceiling. And of course, we have to have the mandatory screaming kid for my video. Here is a mock-up of Howard Hughes's office. Yep, what would my video be without a screaming kid? This little kit plane here was a replica of the Minier Coup de Ciel, little French airplane. A little rocket racer. This was kind of interesting here. Note how thin that wing is on that airplane. That is unbelievable. Beautiful little airplane. And this is pretty cool. This is called Loving's Love. But you'll notice the wing looks just like that on the World War II F4U Corsair. Little rocket. How in the world would you ever get into this thing? That's not enough light to really see the instrument panel. But this is the tail section of the little rocket. Amazing. Wow. Talk about some workmanship. And this is another view of the Pou de Ciel. That looks like it'd be fun to fly. Here we have the air show pioneers. Interestingly enough, I've gotten to see some of them perform. And sadly, some of them are not with us anymore. Lots of fun to watch them perform. This little plane here, I swear it is the coolest little thing I've ever seen. Just look at that. Just to look from behind. Looks just like a little baby Corsair. This one I think might be a Whitman tailwind, but I'm not sure. It's kind of goes back to the air racing days. The need for speed. This little airplane was designed by Steve Whitman, and he could make an airplane go. Fast little plane too. Didn't have a really big engine, but it would get the job done and haul the mail. Oh wow, look, it's got retractable landing gear. Now that's pretty cool. I'd never seen one of those that had retractable gear before, but sure enough it does. There's the gear door. Now it's got an interesting set of fins up on the nose, and I'm not quite sure what those are for. Yep, sure enough, this is the Whitman tailwind. Interesting looking airplane. Then up here we have the Whitman Chief Oshkosh. And that's a pretty fast little airplane there as well. And here we have the CP-30 Emerald, little French-built airplane. Beautiful machine. Good gracious, what a gorgeous little airplane. Then moving back over here, we have another beautiful biplane. Something about a biplane I've always loved. They are just really fascinating machines. And if you ever get a chance to fly in one, you definitely need to do it. It is really neat. Love the sun logo on the tail here. Pretty cool setup. Oh, what a beautiful airplane. Now as we move around on this side of it, see if I can maybe get a look inside here. This is inside the cockpit, the rear cockpit that is. Pretty cool. Let's see what kind of plane this is, because I don't readily know. Curtiss Wright CW-16E. Good Lord, that's beautiful. Then over here, we have another fantastic little airplane. This is an old bird right here. Man, look at that. Wow. Let's go over and see if we can have a look inside this cockpit. I'm gonna try to see if I can make my cell phone light it up any. Oh yeah, look at that. A lot of wood in there, folks. It even has a wooden control stick. Wooden instrument panel. Sidewalls are wood. And then there's the front cockpit. Not quite sure what that little horn's for right there, but I bet you could have had some fun with that. And look at these beautiful old wooden struts. Man, that's incredible. This is a Pete and Paul air camper. I've heard of them before, but I don't think I've ever seen one. Man, what a beautiful little airplane. 1929. My late father was 1 year old then. Dad, you all had a lot of cool airplanes when you were little. Here you have the old Continental engine, old wooden propeller, and look at the little hood ornament in there. That's too cool. Wow. Here are all the trophies that this airplane has won over the years. And rightfully so. Let's take a look from this viewpoint of the ceiling. You can see the Stearman in the foreground, center. The Brands, I believe that's an S9 or an S10. Little quickie. Ford Flivver, Pitts, and a reproduction of the Wright Flyer. Let's go over and look at some more stuff. This one here, I'm not sure what it is, but it looks like it would be fun. It is an Aerosport Woody Pusher. It's interesting because home-built airplanes have really been very innovative over the years. Let's go over and look at this little plane called the M² Breeze. Looks like a light sport or an ultralight, and that would be fun to fly right there. Here is a Heath Super Parasol, 1934. Quite a beautiful old bird. And then let's walk over. Looks like we have a fuselage section mock-up here. And this is interesting. This is kind of like a commercial airliner, made to look like a B-17 on the inside. Looks like an MD-80. I used to work on MD-80s. Pretty neat airplane. Now we're going to look at one more airplane in here, and this is called the Baby Laird replica. And years ago there was a Laird airplane, 1913, and this was an amazing machine. But this is a replica. Look at that beautiful old wooden propeller. Look at that engine. My goodness, wouldn't that be fun? We'll walk around the back side of it and take a look at it. A lot of wires, a lot of fabric, and a whole lot of drag. Neat. Look in the cockpit of this old bird. There's a steering wheel. That would be so much fun. Okay, so walking out here to look at their outside exhibit, the first thing I come up to is this most radical looking airplane. This is called the XFV-1 Salmon. Have a look at this thing. It was a vertical takeoff and landing attempt. I don't know how successful it was. And in the background, the old Piedmont 727. Man, that was an airplane very dear to my heart, and one of my first jet transports that I maintained. I tell you, I really hit the jackpot today too, because this place is not crowded at all. Man, don't you know that had to be a heck of a ride, taking off vertically in that thing. Wouldn't want to have an engine failure. Oh, long live the beautiful old three-holder. Gracious, what a gorgeous airplane. Funny thing is, this airplane was built in the 60s, and it's a timeless classic. Alrighty, continuing the tour outside, here is a MiG-21. Pretty wild looking airplane. Yeah, I would like to fly one of those too. The only thing I've seen today that I would not want to fly is that vertical and takeoff thing over there. That don't look to me like it'd be real safe. Not a lot of margin for error. And here is an interesting looking aircraft. This looks almost like a Cirrus design here. Pretty radical looking bird. Let's see what the label says up here, what the placard. Oh yeah, sure enough, it's a Cirrus VK30. Only 12 of them were built, and it was used to design the SR-20 and 22, which is a very widely used airplane these days. Now this looks like it would be fun. I like the pusher propeller design back there. That looks pretty cool. These airplanes are neat. They're fiberglass. Wow. And then over here, wow, this is the Piper jet in the distance. It never really did kick off. This was built to get into the very light jet craze, but it just never did seem to take on. I believe I'd fly this thing though. Wow, that's pretty cool. See if we can get a look inside. Interesting. Then when you come out here, PA-47, this was the prototype, the only one that ever was built. And it flew in 2008, and 3 years later it was canceled. I don't know, I think it's a pretty cool looking little airplane. That's pretty wild. Man, this is too cool. Great museum. I give it an A++.